Hello. It's been a while since I've been posting more history content again. I know with my frequent absences, I'm really sorry for you guys to just not see me post. My last video I posted was it was back a few days ago. It was a week ago actually, and I made a video about the House of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. It only has not a lot of views, but that's fine because I need to get the rest of the houses done. But it's just a little special video for you guys today, because since my absence is about history. I don't know, I won't be posting for a week again. It's annoying because it just, what annoys me the most is I can only do it when I haven't got, when I have half term off. That's the only times I can do. So, yeah, about that, sorry about that. Oh, and, if you're wondering, why have I changed my channel? Oh, there's a mention, before I get started with the title of this video, I've mentioned that I changed my YouTube name. Instead of my actual, my actual username, it was based off my Roblox username because I had it for 3 years, and then I just decided to change it. So now it's about history with me. So that's my new channel name, but I just put back my Roblox username because I just don't want just my Roblox username. I'm like, no, that's just boring. But I just decided to do that anyway. So in terms of this, I made up these, so this piece of paper I have is, is the 32 questions, which were based on what I did so far in my videos where not in history, but in videos I do about history. There are some bits I have not covered yet, which is Queen Consorts of the UK, including Consorts of England. I'm not including the male ones as well, but I'm only including the ones that are in UK, also the ones in England, yeah. I haven't done French monarchs. I haven't done them yet. I haven't done vice presidents, which is very annoying because I haven't done vice presidents. And obviously, there's these two bonus questions where there's one about Tsars of Russia, and the other one is about the queen, kings and queen, the monarchs of Spain, or Spanish monarchs, whatever. But yeah. I'm gonna try my best. There are some bits that I'm gonna probably pronounce wrong, so please don't get crazy in the comments. I'll do my best to pronounce the words, because in some of my videos, I pronounce the words so badly, and I can't do it. I just give up. Yeah, there's some German words I can't pronounce, and I'm just trying my best, because I can't speak German. I mean, it's not German, it's just the names. It's just, oh my god, I can't do it. So, there are 7 sections, so altogether there's 32 questions. So the video is going to be split up into 7 sections, possibly if it does. I don't think it will, but I hope it does, because in one of my videos it did, but this one it might not, because I don't know how long this video would take, because I will be explaining the questions in specifically detail. There's some important ones. I will go through the important ones. I think before we get to section 7, I will just go through some the most important ones, the important questions that I haven't done yet. I haven't done prime ministers yet, but I'm gonna do them soon. There's one about them. I know, you guys are just being a bit fussy. I know, I'm not fussy, sorry. I mean, you guys are being impatient, so I'm trying my best, but I'm going to start. So let's start with number 1, Queen Consort of the UK. Well, technically, Queen Consort is one of the best things to know. It's different for a Queen Regnant. It's a Queen Consort. So what's the difference? So This is the first one about. This is the first. Oh my god, I can't speak. It's the first question of queen consorts. Who was the longest reigning queen consort of the UK? Well, to me, in my opinion, I would go with Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. She was the longest reigning queen consort of the UK. She was. Well, I will explain this. She was born on the 19th of May, 1744, and she became the wife of George III of Great Britain in 1761. She became queen consort at the age of only 17. That's very young. Hey, what the hell are you doing? And then she married 23-year-old George III. They had a really happy marriage. They were married for 57 years. I'm not even joking. That's like the longest marriage. It used to be before someone else took over. I'm not going to go through that. She bore George 15 children, though 13 survived to adulthood. She became the longest queen consort for 57 years because it includes her marriage in 1761. She died on the 17th of November, 1818, at the age of 74, but her husband died 2 years later in 1820, though he did live longer than her, but she died in 1818 at 74. So she was old. I don't know what her cause of death was, but I haven't gone through her in detail. Here's the second question. How many queen consorts are there in the UK? There have been altogether, I'll just explain this. Altogether, there have been 11 royal consorts of the UK. There have been 8 queen consorts, and there have only been 3 male consorts. I'm not going to mention the male ones, but the female is 8. There have been 8 women who were queen consorts of the UK. The third question. What is the difference between a queen and a queen consort? That is a really good one. So a queen regnant, you might say, is a monarch. Actually, wait. So a queen consort is the wife of a reigning monarch. So for example, let me take an example of a queen consort, like Caroline of Ansbach. She's a queen consort, right? And she's the wife of George II, who's the reigning monarch. And the queen regnant is a monarch or a joint monarch. Like, for example, Mary II, she was a joint monarch with William III. They were both co-monarchs. It's the same thing, a joint monarch or a co-monarch. It's just the same thing. The fourth one is, who was the first queen consort? Well, this one is a bit important to know. If you're saying the first ever queen consort was Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, you're wrong. It's actually Matilda, the wife of William the Conqueror, all the way back to 1066. I'm not even joking. It was actually Matilda who was the queen consort to William the Conqueror back in 1066 after he conquered he invaded England. I can't say conquered England, but it's another word to say it. The fifth one. Now, there's the last question to the queen consorts. Has a queen consort ever become queen? There are some theories about it. It's actually not really true. It's wrong. It's like, no. The reason is because a queen consort is not recognized as a queen. That's because the monarch needs to be inherited to become a queen. But yeah, that's like not very true. It's like they can't be, they're not even recognized as a queen. They're recognized as a queen consort. That's why. Now we're on to section number 2. British monarchs. Yay! My favorite one. So here's the first one. Who was the longest reigning British monarch? Well, as you see, there have been 4 top... We're going to go with the top 4. But the longest ever reigning British monarch is Elizabeth II. She reigned for 70 years, longer than her great-grandmother Victoria. Well, she actually had her great-grandmother Victoria reigned for 63 years. I am sorry because I actually forgot she has another grandmother. I don't know. She reigned for 70 years. Elizabeth II, She was one of two daughters to, because her sister died in 2002, along with her mother. She reigned for 70 years altogether. She reigned from 1692 until her death in September 2022. But now her son is still king. Number two, who was the first ever king of the whole of Great Britain? Okay, I don't know why I said Great Britain. I mean England. If you say Great Britain, not until 1707. We have to go back to 927. So back in 927 AD, Aethelstan became the first ever king of England because his father, Edward the Elder, died in battle in 924. He reigned for 15 years. He was king for 3 years in Wessex. But the other 12 years, he was king of England. He died in 939, but his cause of death is completely unknown. He was 29 when he took the throne of England, and then he became the whole king of the whole England. That's why we used English monarchs, but up until 1707, to the present day, we use British monarchs. I know, it's still the same thing. The third one. Who was the first Prime Minister of Britain? Now, this is a really, really important one. So you have to know this. We currently, in Great Britain, in the UK, and some other countries, we use Prime Minister. Like the USA, they use President. By the way, I'm not going to go into too much detail about them. But yeah. So in the UK, we use Prime Minister rather than the USA use President. It's like the same thing, but it's different. But the first ever Prime Minister of Great Britain was Robert Walpole. He became Prime Minister in 1721 at the age of only 44. He was Prime Minister to two British monarchs, George I and George II. He was Prime Minister for 20 years, up until he left in 1742 at the age of 65. He was out of office for 3 years and died at 68 in 1745. So that is why Robert Walpole was known as Britain's de facto first Prime Minister. De facto, I don't know why. I think that's in French or something, but I de facto. De facto is Spanish for the facto Prime Minister. The first Prime Minister of Britain, or the first de facto Prime Minister, whatever you want to say it. Number 4, who was the first German prince to take the throne of Britain? I'm literally hesitating to say this, but actually, I have this theory in my mind that the first German prince to take the throne of Britain was George I. So he took the throne of Britain in 1714 when his second cousin, Queen Anne, died. Well, let me get to know him. So he was born on the 28th of May, 1660, in Hanover, Brunswick, Lunenburg. Some people say it Brunswick, Lunenburg. I can't pronounce it, but sorry if I'm trying. I'm trying to pronounce these stupid words, and you guys are just making fun of me. There are people going, oh my god, you're not pronouncing these words right. And I'm like, shut up, I'm trying my best. And then his father was Ernest Augustus, Elector of Hanover. Some people say his name weird. I don't know why. And his mother is Sophia of the Palatinate, or Sophia, Electress of Hanover. Well, I like the name Sophia of Hanover because it's named. And because I think she's like best with the title. And he is a descendant of James I and VI, King of England and Scotland, in a personal union. Okay, he was not declared King of Great Britain. Mate, you were king in 1603, right? You can't declare yourself as King of Great Britain. That's not until 1707, by the way. So this guy was wrong. Then, during his lifetime, his father, Ernest Augustus, died in 1698 at 68. So when George was 38, he took the Principality of Hanover in the Holy Roman Empire. By the way, that's still then. Yeah, it was still the Holy Roman Empire. Then, in 1701, the Act of Settlement passed to Sophia of Hanover and her descendants of being Protestant, by the way. That doesn't include everyone else. Then on the 8th of June 1714, George's mother, Sophia, died in Hermeskeil Gardens in Hanover. I could not pronounce that word because I've been trying my best to pronounce it. Hermeskeil Gardens. She collapsed into her granddaughter, She collapsed into her granddaughter-in-law's arms, which was Caroline of Ansbach, by the way, the wife of George II. Then 2 months later, Sophia's first cousin, once removed, Queen Anne, died without any children. Well, her only child died in 1700, but 14 years later she died. So George took the throne at 54. I'm like, how this guy, 54, take the throne of Britain? I'm not sorry. He reigned for 13 years. Wikipedia says he reigned for 12 because he took the throne on the 1st of August until the 11th of June. So there's like kind of a little shifty there, but that's fine. He died on the 11th of June of 1727 at 67. He suffered a stroke while going to Hanover, and his son became king after him. And then the final one, who was known as the Virgin Queen. Now, this one is actually, we have to go back to Tudor England, and it goes to Elizabeth I of England, known as the Virgin Queen. Now, Elizabeth I is the only queen to have never been married. She reigned for 44 years, by the way. She was born on the 7th of September 1533 to Henry VII's second wife, Anne Boleyn. That is her mother, and Henry VIII was her father. In 1536, when Elizabeth was only 3, her mother was beheaded for treasoning. For some reason, she was executed for treasoning. And Henry VIII married Jane Seymour 11 days after Anne Boleyn's execution. Then after that, she had a sister, her sister-in-law, Mary, from her first, Mary I, who was 17 when her stepmother died, was actually, executed. She lost 2 mothers at 17, but Elizabeth lost her mother at 3. And then her brother, Edward, was born. And then about 12 days later, in 1537, Edward's mother died. Obviously, Edward VI was just 12 days old, a baby. I'm not even joking. Elizabeth was 4 when another stepmother died. And then in 1547, when she was 14, her father died at 55. So her brother became Edward VI in 1547. He died in 1553. His cousin, that cousin, once removed, Lady Jane Grey, took the throne as the 9 Days Queen. She was beheaded at 17 in 1554. Then Mary I took the throne again in July 1553. She was 37. She died of urinary... And, oh, by the way, Mary I married Philip II, King of Spain. And by the way, he doesn't count as a male consort because he was King of Spain. He does not count. He was king... I think he was a consort of England for 4 years until he came back. He came back to Spain. And Philip II had 4 wives. Mary I was one of them. I can't speak. I'm so sorry. I get confused between Mary I and Mary II. I'm so sorry. Then after that, Mary died of urinary cancer at 42, and so Elizabeth took the throne at 25 after the death of her sister-in-law. She was a Catholic, by the way, but Elizabeth I was Protestant. And then King Philip proposed to Elizabeth I, but she rejected him. Then 30 years later, she invaded Spain and defeated him in a battle. And her cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots, aka the mother of James the First of England and 6th of Scotland, she tried to assassinate her cousin. So she had her in prison. By the way, Mary, Queen of Scots, was queen since 6 days old. And I'm like, how the hell? I'm like, what? So then she had her in prison for 19 years. In February 1587, she was executed at the Tower of London at the age of 44. Elizabeth reigned for 44 years, and this was actually the Golden Age. She basically named an era after herself, which was the Elizabethan era. I have to go through some eras because I haven't done them before. Yeah. And then she died on the 24th of March 1603 at 69, and she died of blood poisoning because she had this, like, she was wearing this makeup which caused her to have, like, she either died of lead poisoning because of the makeup or some blood poisoning of the same thing. Now we're on to section 3, the U.S. President of the United States. I have done some videos about presidents, but I haven't done them more in detail because of how much I am. So I have 5 questions to that as well. I mean, I have to go through them in detail. The first one is, who was the tallest U.S. president? The answer to that one is Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president. Abraham Lincoln was the tallest president of the United States, standing at 6 feet and 4 inches tall. That is technically the tallest height you can go. 6 feet, yeah. I did shout that out loud, by the way. 6 feet, 6 foot 4 inches, which is really tall. And he was one of the presidents to be assassinated while still in office, by the way. He became president at 52, but he was assassinated in April 1865 at 56. And his wife outlived him for 17 years. Yeah, I don't know why. And he was born in 1809. So he was born during one of the presidencies, but I know it's just weird. Number 2, who was the shortest U.S. president? That is James Madison. James Madison is the shortest president, just standing at 5 foot 4 inches. 4 inches tall. But I'm like, wow, he's short. Yeah, because every time you see portraits of James Madison standing, he's so short. And because there's 2 presidents who are just 2 inches taller than him. But he's so small. I mean, he's not small. He's so tiny. He's like very short. That's why. James Madison was president from 1809 to 1817. He took office at 57 and left office at 65 because he had 2 presidencies. 2 terms, by the way. He was out of office for 19 years until he died in 1836 at 85. And obviously, he married Dolly Madison, who outlived him. She died at 81 in 1849. His mother, Eleanor Madison, she lived to 98. In 1829, she died. And James Madison was only 77 when his mother died. And she was born in 1731 and died in 1829. I was like, how the frick do you get a mother to live at the age of 98? And I'm like, what? I mean, that's very, very weird, but Madison, you have a weird... your mother just outlived you. The third one, who had the shortest presidency? For this one, I'm going to say William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison, the 9th president, he had a presidency, which is not that long. He died after just 31 days in office. He died of pneumonia at 68. He took office in 1841 and had the longest inaugural speech with thousands of words. And he died of pneumonia at 68. He did it in the cold without a coat, so he was cold, and he caught a cold, by the way, so I'm like, which caused him to have really bad pneumonia, like his grandson did. Yeah, but I'm not gonna go into that more detail. He was born in 1773, 3 years before America became independent. And he became a military man. His father died when he was 18 and his mother at 19. He lost both of his parents when he was a teenager. His father was born in 1726 but died in 1791. I don't know his mother, but his father was Benjamin Harrison V. And I'm like, who names that kid Benjamin Harrison V? That's such a good name. The 5th. Okay, and then the 4th one, who had the longest presidency? That goes to Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd president. He had a presidency of 12 years, 1933 until he died in 1945. He died in office in April of that year. His cause of death was he had a stroke at the age of 63. He had 3 vice presidents during his 12 years. His first vice president was in office for 8 years. The second one was 4, and the other one was just a month. I know, that's been 3. Well, one of them outlived him, actually. Kind of, yeah. But I mean, there's only like 2. Maybe 2. I have no clue. I've got no brain cells at this point. My brain is not, like, working. What was I gonna say? Franklin D. Roosevelt was a 5th cousin to the 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt. They both have the same last name, Roosevelt, but Franklin has the first name to a 14th president, but I'm not gonna go that in detail. He was born in 1882, and his cousin, Theodore Roosevelt, took the office at 62. When he took office in 1933, he was 51. And I'm like, wow, that's shocking. And then he actually, by the way, I have a fun fact for you. Franklin D. Roosevelt, during his 12 years of his presidency, he actually suffered from polio, which is like a type of disease which happened back in 1936 until 1952 for 16 years. He suffered a really bad polio, which caused him to... It paralyzed both of his legs, which caused him to have it caused him to not walk. He couldn't stand or walk properly, so he had to have a wheelchair for the rest of his life. That's sad. And then the 5th one, who is the longest living president? Currently, it goes to Jimmy Carter, the 39th president. He's living at the age of 100 years old. And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, he just turned 101 like a month ago. And he's 100 years old. Jimmy Carter was the 39th president from 1977 to 1981. He was born on the 1st of October 1924. In 1977, when he was 52, he took office, and he left it at 56, the same age as the 16th president died. He had a post-presidency of 43 years, and currently is living at the age of 100. And I'm like, oh, wow. And there were some videos about presidents saying happy 100th birthday to Jimmy Carter. And this guy is breaking records right now. I'm like, oh my god. He is currently the oldest living U.S. president in the whole of history. Imagine. Now we'll come to section 4, French monarchs. Now we're going to the Kingdom of France. Now, I haven't done French monarchs yet, so I'm gonna cry. Okay, number 1. Who is the longest reigning French monarch? Now, this one goes to Louis XIV of France. Louis XIV reigned for 72 years, 2 years longer than Queen Elizabeth II of the UK was. I'm not even joking, this guy just reigned for 72 years. He was King of France from 1643 until 1715. He was the only son of Louis XIII of France. He was born in 1638. In 1643, at the age of 4, his father died at 41, so he took the throne at 4. That's such a young age. His mother acted him as regent. In 1660, he married a queen consort of Spain. Actually, that's a question which I'm going to go through later. I'll explain that more in detail. He reigned for 72 years. He outlived his son, Louis Grand Dauphin, and his grandson as well, by the way. He died on the 1st of September 1715 at the age of 76, 4 days before his 77th birthday. He died, his cause of death was he had really bad gout. And yeah, his great-grandson took the throne after him. Number 2, which French king was assassinated in 1610? That one is Henry IV of France. Henry IV of France was king of France from 1589 until his assassination in 1610. He was, I don't know how old he was when he took the throne, but he was assassinated in 1610 at the age of 56. Though I'm not sure how he got assassinated, but what we think of was he was riding his carriage, and then there was like a group of people, and they stabbed him to death when he was still in office. But his son, Louis XIII, took the throne of only 8. And I'm like, oh wow, that's such a young age. I don't know how old Henry IV was because I can't remember what year he was born in, so I have no clue. Number 3. Which French king lost their head in the French Revolution? That's Louis XVI of France. Louis XVI lost his head during the French Revolution in the 1780s. In 1789, by the way, that's when the French Revolution started. He was born in 1755. In 1774, his grandfather, Louis XV, died of smallpox at 60, after reigning for 58 years. At 64. At 19, he was crowned King of France along with his wife, Maria Antoinette of Austria, the last daughter of Maria Theresa of Spain, the Holy Roman Empress, by the way. I don't know. Okay, let me just go back to so Louis XVI lost his head during the French Revolution. By the way, the French Revolution started in 1789. He was born in 1755, and in 1774, his grandfather, Louis XV, died of smallpox at 64. So when he was 19, he was crowned King of France. By this time, he married Maria Antoinette of Austria, the daughter of Maria Theresa, the Holy Roman Empress. She was also 19 when she was crowned Queen of France. Together, they had 4 children. They also did produce a child, which was also Louis, by the way. Yes, Louis is the most common name, by the way, but I don't know why. I don't know why they made their kids Louis. Yeah, by this time. By 1789, the French Revolution broke out, and in January 1793, Louis XVI lost his head in the guillotine at the age of only 38. Well, 38, he lost his head at 37 after reigning for 18 years on the throne. And his wife, Maria Antoinette, also lost her head only about 8 months later in October of that same year. They were in their 30s when they were beheaded. While Marie Antoinette was 37, Louis was 38. So he reigned for 19 years. Marie Antoinette was 18 years. Number 4. Now this one is the most funniest. Which French king was gay? That's Louis XIII. Louis XIII was known as being a gay king because he had male lovers. He did marry a consort of Austria because he did produce the future Louis XIV at the time. But during his 33 years, by the way, he reigned the same as George II of Great Britain. They both reigned for 33 years, but that's why. But back to Louis, by the way. Louis XIII was known as possibly, I don't know why he was gay. He did have a lot of male lovers during his 33 years of reign. He became king in 1610 after his father, Henry IV of France, was assassinated. He was only 8 years old when he took the throne of France, and he did reign longer. He did have a lot of male lovers during this time. He died in 1643 at the age of 41. His cause of death, he died of a fever. I don't even know his cause of death, but he could have died of a fever, which is really bad. And his 4-year-old son became king after him. Number 5. Which French king married the queen consort of Spain? That goes back to Louis XIV again. That's 2 times I mentioned his name. Louis XIV, like we said, was the longest reigning king of France. In 1660, he married Maria Theresa. Don't get confused with the emperor, the Holy Roman Empress. Yeah, Maria Theresa, the Holy Roman Empress, by the way. Don't get confused with her. Maria Theresa, Queen of Spain. She married him in 1660. They were married for 23 years. She died in 1683 of dropsy at 44. So that is why Louis XIV was known as having a lot of mistresses, like Charles II did. And I'm like, bro, how many do you need mistresses for? Now we're coming to section 5, vice presidents. The first one, I know I put 5 questions for each because I'm explaining them to you in detail. Number 1, who was the first ever vice president? John Adams. John Adams became the first ever vice president of the United States since George Washington took the office in 1789. John Adams was 53 when he took vice president and left office at 61, becoming the second vice president. He had a post-presidency of 29 years, which is longer. Number 2, who is the current vice president? That is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the current vice president of the United States. She was vice president to 46th President Joe Biden, who's stepping down for by the way, the November election is coming up. And the November election is up between the vice president, Democrat Kamala Harris, and Republican 45th President Donald Trump. I do not want Donald Trump to become president again. Not what he did back in 2017. Not again. No. I think Kamala Harris is going to win this election. If Kamala Harris wins this election, I'm going to be super happy. I mean, I don't want Donald Trump because I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? I'm not posting anymore. Okay, I'm joking. Yeah. She was born on October 20th. She was born on October 20th, 1964. She's currently 60 years old. She took the office in 2021 at 56, and she's still vice president at this time. Number 3, who was the longest-lived vice president? Now, the longest-lived vice president is John Nance Garner, the first vice president to Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was born on November 22nd, 1868. He did outlive Franklin D. Roosevelt and got to see other presidents. Sadly, he did die he became Franklin D. Roosevelt's first vice president in the 20th century from 1933 to 1933 to 1941. He was a vice president for 8 years. He did outlive the other presidents, but he died on November 7th, 1967 at the age of 98. He was recorded as the longest lived vice president of the whole of the US. Yeah. Number 4, which 2 vice presidents died on the same day in the same year? Now, that goes to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the first vice president and second vice president, aka second president and third president. So John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died on the 4th of July, 1826, though they did die a few hours before. Thomas Jefferson was the second vice president of the US. He was vice president at 53 and left at 61. Because he was in office at 53 and left at 57 to become the third president. He was born in April 1743, a day after George Washington's father died. By the way, I'm not going into detail with him. He became vice president at 53 and president at 57. He died on the 4th of July, 1826 at 83 of cancer. And with John Adams, you already know he was the first vice president. He was born on October 30th, 1735. He does share a birthday with a British monarch. I'm like, bro, what is going on? And he was vice president. He became vice president at 53, left office at 61 to become the president, and left office again for president at 65. He died also on the 4th of July, 1826, but he outlived Thomas Jefferson to the age of 90. His cause of death was heart failure. Number 5, who was the youngest vice president to die? Now, the youngest vice president to die was John C. Breckinridge. He was born on January 16th, 1821. He became vice president at the age of 36. He died at the age of 54. So, I know that sounds weird, but he did die at 54. And I'm like, oh, wow. I don't know why. Now we're coming to section 6. Now we've come up to the 5 mixed questions based on what we've done so far. Number 1, which queen had 17 pregnancies? That goes to Queen Anne of Great Britain. Anne had 17 pregnancies during her 12 years of reign. She was born on she was born on February 6th, 1665 to James, Duke of York. before James II, by the way, and his first marriage, Anne Hyde. At 18 years old, Anne married Prince George of Denmark in 1863. And during this time, she had 17 pregnancies, but they all died in infancy, miscarriage, or stillbirth. She did have 5 alive babies. One died. There were 2 twins, 2 daughters that both died before reaching the ages of 2 and 1. But the oldest child was Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, who was born on July 24th, 1689. He died on July 30th, 1700, aged 11. Now, obviously, I don't know his cause of death. It could have been like an unknown illness or something. But what Anne had was Huge syndrome, which is sticky blood, which causes So basically, it causes the blood to be very sticky, so every time she gives birth to a baby, it gets miscarried or stillborn, and it's really sad to hear, and it would cause her to have a wheelchair later in her life. She became Queen of England after the death of William III. So she was 37 and died at 49. She became obese, by the way, when her husband died in 1708 at 55, and she died in 1714 at the age of 49. Number 2, which queen consort had 15 children? That one goes to Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, the wife of King George III. She did produce George III, 15 children. She did produce 2 kings, the future George IV and the future William IV. And also, she did have 2 young sons, Prince Octavius and Prince Alfred, but in the 1780s, they both died of smallpox. One of them lived to 2, the other one lived to 4. Their youngest daughter, Princess Amelia, died in 1810 at 27, and George III, actually, aka known as Mad King George, suffered 4 types of mental health issues 4 times. And by the way, he had a condition called porphyria. Porphyria is like, I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's like a type of disease that he had during his 59-year reign. And so his eldest son became Prince Regent to him 4 times before he died in 1820. Number 3, which French king died at 5 days old? That one goes to John I of France. He was born in 1316, and he was supposed to become king of France, but died at 5 days old of an unknown cause, which is really sad to hear. Number 4, which person became the youngest president? That one goes to Theodore Roosevelt. In 1901, after the assassination of William McKinley, he became president at the age of 42, which is the youngest person to become president. By the way, he had a vice president during his 8 years, but he had of his vice count once for 4 years, and then he had another one for 4 years. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense, right? You had a vice president during your 8 years, and I'm like, what? I mean, yeah, he died in 1919 at the age of 60. His cause of death was a blood clot, and he was born in 1858. And he left office at 50, so he had a post-presidency for 10 years and died at 60. Number 5, which person became the youngest vice president? I mentioned this, John C. Breckinridge. He became vice president at the age of 36. I'm not sure how long he ended his vice presidency for, but he died at 54 as well. He was born in 1821, got vice president at 36, and died at 54. So yeah, that's so sad. Now we've come to the 2 bonus questions, which are not included on the list. The first one is, how long did Peter the Great reign for in Russia? Peter the Great was Tsar of Russia back in the 17th century, and he reigned for 43 years, from 1689 up until his death in 1725. He died at 52. He had a co-monarch, which is Ivan IV, one of his siblings. He married Catherine I of Russia, who succeeded him after his death. But she didn't reign for that long until Peter II took the throne of Russia, and then when he died, Anna took the throne, and then it was her infant son, then Elizabeth, and then Catherine the Great. But I was going to include her, but I just didn't do that. And then number 2, how long did Isabella I of Castile reign for in Spain? Now, Isabella I of Castile, she was queen in the 15th century. She was born in around the 1450s. In 1474, she became Queen of Castile and Queen of Aragon 5 years later in 1479. But when focusing on Castile at the moment, she was Queen of Castile at 23. She reigned for 30 years and died in 1504 at 53. Her cause of death was a high fever. She did produce 2 queens, the future Juana the Mad, Juana I, known as Juana the Mad, who was both Queen of Castile and Aragon. Those are the 2 kingdoms that were most mainly produced during that time. She died at 75, and Catherine of Aragon, the first wife of Henry VIII, and the first Queen Consort of England back in 1509. And yeah, that is how Isabella. I feel like Isabella is one of my favorite queens of Spain because she's the best one. I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. I know it's tiring for me to keep explaining you more stuff, but I think you'll be fine.